Are you running your business or is it running you? If you feel stuck in the daily grind, it's time to shift from operator to owner. In this episode of Profit with a Plan podcast, I sit down with Pete Mohr, a certified exit planner and Kolbe coach who has mastered the art of simplifying business success. We're diving into the 6 P's frameworks and with the special focus on your business's promise, the key to attracting the right customers, streamlining your message, and making better decisions with less stress. So don't miss this game changing conversation that will help you redefine how you operate your business and your life. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you working too hard for too little profit? Well, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we help you scale smarter, increase profitability, and build business that's worth more, whether you keep it or you decide to sell it. I'm Marcia Riner, business growth strategist and profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to turn their businesses into highly profitable and sale-ready assets, so they enjoy more income now and a bigger payout later. Please join me for practical strategies, expert insights, and proven steps to make your business more profitable, more valuable, and built to last. By the way, today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. But before we get started, I have something special for you. If you're feeling like you're doing everything right, but you're just not seeing the results you want, well, it might be time for a fresh perspective. That's why we're offering a free growth and marketing audit. And in just one powerful session, we'll uncover opportunities to drive real growth for your business. And if you're ready to make an impact, visit profitbooster.biz and get started. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Today, I'm excited to welcome Pete Mohr to the show. Pete brings over 30 years of entrepreneurial experience, helping business owners transform frustrations into freedoms. As a certified exit planning associate and a Kolbe certified consultant, and the host of the Business Owner Breakthrough podcast, Pete has a passion for simplifying business ownership. Through his proven frameworks and practical strategies, Pete helps entrepreneurs shift from operators to owners, building highly profitable teams and preparing for the successful exit. His insights are all about cutting through the chaos and making business ownership more rewarding. Wow, welcome to the podcast, Pete. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you and with the listeners here today as we dig into some cool stuff.
I love it. I love it. So we have similar philosophies and have been through some similar ropes here.
For sure.
But for the audience, I'd love to kind of start off with maybe a little background on your Kolbe. So
Oh,
tell
yeah.
us a little bit what that is and how it really helps shift, how you work in the world.
I love Kolbe. I've been following it for many, many years and became certified in it a few years ago now. So I help other business owners implement Kolbe in the Kolbe system into their businesses. And the beauty of Kolbe, and I know this podcast isn't all about Kolbe, but my Kolbe number is 4392. And so everybody gets a Kolbe number when you take the assessment. And that lets you sort of better understand how that person makes decisions.
Mm.
And from that perspective, that's why I love Kolbe as an assessment because I'm a bit of an assessment junkie, I must admit, Marcia. But I always start with Kolbe because
Mm.
especially in business, because I want to know how my team makes decisions. I want to know how a new hire might make decisions that comes working with me. I want to know how they operate in that mindset so that I can really see if they're going to align well to the position and to the team that we're hiring them for. So, the first part of Kolbe is understanding yourself. And the second part of Colby really is digging into, from an employer perspective, understanding the job that you're hiring for and understanding whether that person is going to align well with that job. And if they are, then it's probably going to be a better and easier hire. They're going to be in the right fit. They're going to be in the right seat. They're going to love what they do as opposed to hate what they do. Wouldn't that be nice to know before you hired the person instead of three
Of
months later,
course it
6 months later?
would. Of course
So
it would. That makes total sense. And, when reasoning, and I'm sure it helps a little bit with the customers as well to understand kind of, you start to see trends and stuff to get them to help make better decisions. But my goodness, having a team that works alongside of you, helping you move that your practice, your business to the direction you want to with the least amount of friction. Oh, yes,
one
please.
of the six P's is people, right? So that's one of our six P's. So my piece, one of the P's for our people in the organization is Colby. So we better understand how they operate, how they make decisions in business. We need to make decisions every day, and our team needs to make decisions. And if we're stalled, why are we stalled? Do they have
Mm.
enough information? Do they need more information? Are we low on follow through? Are we high on follow through? Is there too many ideas that nobody can activate on? Are we not getting enough ideas? Like all of these different things, when we start to overlay that onto an executive team or onto a working group and stuff like that, it gets really, really interesting. But it all starts with knowing yourself.
Ah,
And I've had so many people say, "Oh my God, I wish I would have known this earlier." Like, and can you put my kid through this? And so we do, the kids coming up and all that sort of stuff, because the beauty of Colby, because Colby isn't what you like and what you prefer. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with how you make decisions. It's the conative. It's not the
mm,
affective. It's not sort of this idea around your likes and preferences like DISC and Enneagram and a lot of the other ones. Those
right.
ones will change over time because you've seen different things over your life. You've experienced different things. Your likes and preferences change. Colby doesn't change. Who you are is who you are. And it's been
Interesting.
around for 50 years. So the beauty of that is they have proven stats that basically say you don't change through. And if this is the way you are, that's the way you're going to be. So that's why you can use it for hiring, because you can't
Ah,
hire for when people, when you're using these other tests that are around likes and what you like and what you prefer, you can't discriminate that way. But with Colby, you can use that as part of the hiring process, and part of that is just such a neat thing when you start overlaying the jobs on the accountability chart to Colby's and saying, "Huh, I wonder if this person might be better suited for here. They're probably actually going to like that job even better."
oh my gosh.
Mm.
Sounds like the perfect uh test. And yeah, it is a test and you can't cheat at this test, but it's a perfect kind of analysis that you want to have when you have people that, are working closely together and you want them to perform at their peak performance ability and have them on. So, thank
It's
you
a
for
way to
sharing
profit.
that. I know
It's the
that,
way to profit. This is the profit booster, right? This is all
right?
about profit. And we want to have our team running on all cylinders and each individual running on all cylinders and being working in their loved zone, not in their hated zone, you know? So, because that's when business gets fun. And that's when it's
Yeah, and
like,
you
hey,
spend so much time and energy on it, and as the world shifts, the working force shifts and their mentality and what they like and what they don't like. I think this is a fantastic tool to use.
awesome. Awesome.
Good. Thanks for
Well,
sharing that. That was
yeah,
great.
for
I'm glad
sure.
we did
For
that.
sure.
All
Yeah.
right. So let's kind of get into the conversation that we wanted to go down today,
Sure.
which is talking about um how do you structure your business life for simplicity and success, right? How are you going to do this? And using you have these fantastic 6 Ps that help
Mm.
people move forward. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. I love frameworks, Marcia, and a lot of what I do is put things into frameworks because I need them for myself. I've already, as for anybody who's watching this, I've already pulled all my hair out. So there's not much up there anymore. I've been through that. You said, 30 years of business. I've seen a lot and been through a lot and helped others through a lot too. And one of the things I find useful are frameworks. So the six
Mm,
P's are a framework to overlay onto your business. And
mm,
here are the six P's. And I know we're going to focus on promise today, but just so that everybody knows what they are, because the last
yeah.
one completely aligns with this show. The first one is your promise, and your promise is not your. It's got nothing to do with your mission. Well, I'm not saying it has nothing to do, but it's not your mission. It's not your vision. It's your promise to your customers. So your
Mm.
mission and your vision are internally facing, and you still need to have those, but they're different. The promise
Okay.
is the thing that you're actually shouting out to the world. This is the problem that I can handle for you, and this is what you will essentially pay me for. So it's like understand their problem, align all of your stuff to it so that you can take them from where they were to where they want to be. Because ultimately, people will only spend their dollars when they see a better life.
Mm.
So your promise needs to show the way to a better life. So P number one is the promise.
I
P
love
number
it.
two, three, and four, and five really need to align to that promise. And the alignment is of the product offering that you offer, the process that you are going through, and the people that you are serving. And when you have that alignment, the fifth P is to promote it. And then the sixth P is profit. And that's what we want to get to, right? That's why we're having the conversation today. We want to get to profit.
Exactly. If you're not making a profit, then you've got an expensive hobby.
Right. And, the idea here, whether you're planning for a successful exit, as you had mentioned in the intro, and all of that sort of stuff as an exit planner, or building value in your business because
Hmm.
you want to continue on and stay, these things, and when they're out of alignment, there are great difficulties within the business. And noticing and working through each of these different P's will give you clarity as to what you need to do in order to get to that magic sixth P, which is the profit. And if you're not happy with where that's at, we need to go back and get back to it. And sometimes we need to go all the way back to the promise. Because here's what I'm finding, especially with people that are been at it, for many, many years, is that the promise that you once had maybe isn't the promise that your clients want anymore.
Mm. Right. And you think you're still chugging ahead thinking it is what they want, and that's why your business is either flatline or
Yep.
scaling down or changing directions on it. But I love that. Innovation is definitely really super important in every business. But let's go back to this promise. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you're making a promise to the customer
Mhm.
based on their problem that you conveniently solve. And the promise is the solution, or yeah, am I on point with that?
It's dictating what their problem is. It's showing how you can fix it, and it's leading them to a better life.
Better life. That was the piece I was
And
missing.
we own some shoe stores. So what like and so the things that you want to really do are pull out your taglines and all of this sort of stuff, right?
Hmm.
Our tagline, or everybody has different words for it, but our tagline essentially is to help customers look great and feel fantastic.
Okay.
So if you go into a shoe store, what do you want to do? You want to look great and feel fantastic. Not one or the other. Because a lot of people think when I buy a pair of shoes, I need to really look good for this event. And a lot of people have this understanding that if I put on a pair of shoes that look good, they're not going to feel good. Our goal is to help people look great and feel fantastic with the same pair of shoes. And
Well,
that's
I have to give you a little caveat on there. Us ladies who like to wear 3 and 4 inch heels, we don't always feel great in them, but they make us feel great differently. Our feet don't feel great, but we
and that's
feel great in.
fine. That's fine because I'll give you another little follow up to that because that's true, right? It's making you feel great in other ways. But the idea is if you align your product, which in our case are shoes, you align your process, which is our sales process, basically, and how to take somebody through when they come in the door to find out what they're looking for, find out what they want, get them what they need, and finish them off with in the proper way so that they're going to want to come back and work with us again. I've helped people develop these kind of things all the time, but one of the things really is around I call it the heart of Shootopia, and we help people create heart models, which is another model. But the heart model right at the center is help them look great and feel fantastic. Well,
Mm.
how can we do that? Well, we want to get these 9 letters: ooh, ah, and aha. The ooh is when we get part of our sales process, which is a P, getting them in front of the mirror when they're looking in the mirror and they're looking at themselves and they're going,
Like,
"Ooh, I look pretty
ooh,
good." Then we know
nice.
we've got the ooh, right? We've got the look great. And then we say, "How do they feel?" Close your eyes. How do they feel? And they're like, "Those
Yep.
fantastic." Now I've got look great and feel fantastic. So now I've got the last three letters, which is aha. I've finally found the perfect pair.
Ah, that's perfect. I love that analogy. And that is, I think that's what we want in any product, whether we're selling a product or providing a service. Say you're an attorney and you're
Yeah, for
you're
sure.
doing this, you can
Same.
still have that ooh, ah, and aha kind of feeling because that tells me that I've landed exactly where that customer wants to be. Are your podcast guest appearances leading to real business, or are you just hoping that listeners will take action? With the Profit Booster Podcast Monetization Hub, we turn your interviews into lead generating machines so that you capture, nurture, and convert listeners into paying clients. So stop leaving money on the table and get started today at profitboosterpod.com.
That's where the profit comes. And so if you think of not only the language in your promise, but the feeling, it's the
Mm.
feeling. How do you want them to feel? I finally like I have my coaching company is called Simplifying Entrepreneurship. I want to make life easier for entrepreneurs out there. I want to give them more time. I want to
Why
give them,
we like making it hard on ourselves.
exactly. And my whole philosophy around that is you your business should prop up the life that you want to live. You shouldn't always have to prop up the business. And if I can deliver that, I know that I have done what I promised. And how does that make them feel? It makes them feel it's oh, like I can feel the shoulders going down. I can feel the relief of that breath. I can feel the fact that I'm finally, as we're recording this, I just took a month off in Florida. One of the things that I like to do is take a lot of time off. Well, if your business isn't set up to a point where you can take time off, you're always under pressure. And
Mm.
so my goal is to help people get their business aligned through their products, through their process, through their people, with the right promotion so they can have the right amount of profit. Because when you have the right amount of profit, then you can make choices as the business owner as to whether you want to buy someone else's time so that you can have more time.
I
If
love
time
it.
is the issue.
I love it. It's just this long daisy chain of valuable tools that stack up to make a whole business. And what I talk about and what you talk about are very similar to say, hey, if you can do these great things, you're going to have a business that somebody's going to want to buy later
Mm,
on. And then all your blood, sweat, and tears that you've invested into your company over the years, you have an opportunity to regain some of that on the way out, right? And
for
I think
sure.
it's so important to look at both sides of the business, whether what it's doing now, and if you've got a great business now, then you're happier, right? And that you've got something worth selling later on that someone else might want to step into. But I think one of the
The interesting thing there, Marcia, is that it's the same process.
it is.
We want to build that business so that it runs without us because that's when it has maximum amount of value. And as we go into our sort of quarterly planning and yearly planning and stuff that we should be doing as business owners, we can then make the choice. Do I
Mhm.
want to stay in this business at this point in time? Do I want to sell this business and exit this business? And if I do want to exit, maybe whatever my plans are, maybe it's to take that money and buy another business, maybe it's to take that money and retire. It doesn't matter. But the idea is once it's at that level, you now have a choice because before it's at
Mhm.
that level, the choice isn't as easy.
Mm-mm. Exactly. This is so good. This is so good. Okay, so when we talk about the promise,
Mhm.
right? Let's go back to that and really
Yep.
flesh this out a little bit more. And we're trying to align our clients' problems with the solution and giving them that lifestyle that they're dreaming of,
A
or that
better
thing
life.
that they want, right? The
Mhm.
solution, the promise, and everything in there. How does one go back and really dig into it? Because you said sometimes you go up and then sometimes you need to go back and refix that. How would an existing business kind of do a heart check and
Mhm.
see if if that point is online?
Well, I mean, we can use a variety of different examples, but I'll use the shoe stores because the thing with shoe stores is that everybody buys shoes, so it's something that you can relate to. And I think it's an interesting thing. We've been in business, let's say 25 years, and we've always carried X brand, New Balance, or we've always carried SAS, or we've always carried Birkenstock, or we've always, and that's just what people know us for. Like,
Mm,
this is the language that I hear, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're an attorney or whether you're, if you refinish bathrooms or whatever the case is, but this is what people know us for.
right.
Well, we do have to actually use process in order to see whether that's the thing that they still want from us. So we got to go
Mm,
into the data. Like, is this still a money machine for us? We got to go back in to look at what we have in behind. And maybe this was 90% of our business at one given time, but now it's 10% of the business. And out of that 10%, it's not even a profit portion. So why are
right.
we still doing it? Just because we've always done it? That's not good enough reason anymore. Things move too fast. Things
Oh,
change
okay.
too quickly. And we need to be, if we want to have that profit center, we need to be in a situation. And that's the beautiful thing about small and medium sized businesses is that we can change.
The agility.
And a lot of small business owners are against changing and it's hard and all that. Yes, it is hard and it takes time and it takes some thought. And you have to give yourself time in order to think about that. And you have to use your networks around there to discuss stuff and be involved in groups of people that are like minded and people that are working towards advancement and all this kind of stuff. And use a coach like you or I, Marcia, that is going to help them through and get some different, new, fresh blood. Because, one of the things about being a business owner, it's pretty lonely.
Mm. Isn't that the truth? That silo effect that you get into is that, you're leading your crew or even yourself or a bigger crew, and you've got your only viewpoint on it. So yes, I agree to be involved in different thought leadership ideas
Yeah.
and spaces to get fresh ideas. But I think what was really that I caught out of that was really valuable was the fact that you have to look all the time at what you're doing. Your data tells stories,
Yes.
and if you can look back at your data on that quarterly or semi-annual review that you do on your business for planning, and you look back and say, okay, where is that profit center? And did it shift and move? And is it always, do we just need to make one more call? Or is it the desire and problem that your customer has? Is not the same as it was when you started the year. And it
Or the
can move that
business.
quickly, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
like overnight they can change.
First, and they do. And so these are the things, and when we overlay the full six P's into all of these decisions, it's like, well, how am I going to look at this from a product perspective? Well, I can dig down into my sales history and all that kind of stuff and see if that's like, are we even selling kid shoes anymore? For example, in our
Right.
stores, we don't sell kid shoes. And the reason is because we did this deep dive in kid shoes, and it's like, this isn't a profit center anymore. Let's move it out and fill the shelves with stuff that makes us money.
Exactly.
Right. And so, but that's a process. Part of the process, one of the other P's, is that we actually review that stuff on a regular basis,
Uh,
right?
uh,
With the
what
people.
what an idea,
Yeah.
right? First of all, let me hang on just a second. Let's say that again because many business owners don't have a reverse looking system in place. They don't look back and say, "Oh, what did we do over the last 3 months?" They're constantly going forward, right?
It's so crazy. And, the data is there for most of us because most of us have systems, sales systems, or point of
Mhm.
sale systems or whatever that gives us good information and we use it very minimalistically. And,
Exactly.
I think there's so much there. In fact, there's too much there sometimes that it overwhelms people to the point where they won't use it.
Sure.
But you set up the process, you set up the timelines, you work through this sort of stuff with the people that matter. And that P for people is your ideal customer. And I'm sure you've talked about your ideal customer on the podcast here,
Just a couple
right?
times.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the other two, your ideal teammate. Getting back to
Mhm.
that first off with the Kolbe. Are the people on my team actually able to deliver the promise that we are promising to people?
Mm.
Through the process that we have in place with the products or service offerings that we have, And if there isn't alignment there, we've got to make some shifts and some changes. Because the third P is any other outsourced supplier that's helping deliver your promise. Because a lot of us use outsourced suppliers. It could be a
Sure.
marketing company, it could be a bookkeeping service or an HR service or a sales service or whatever those other services are. Are they in alignment with your promise? Do they even know what your promise is? Or are they
Probably
asking you to
not.
live by their promise? No, you're hiring them. They need to live by your promise. These are the
Mm.
things that we need to have in alignment and we need to work through systematically on a regular basis so that we can promote what we're going to do with the people that are going to buy our services through the process with the product of the promise that we're delivering so that we can drive the right amount of profit and someday come to a successful exit.
I love it. It just makes so much sense. And funny thing that just popped into my mind because I have a little ADHD here going on. But are your kids named start with P and your dog's name starts with a P as well?
I know, but they all my kids' names all end with the letter N, so there you go. It's
Okay,
enough.
well, close enough, close enough. But yeah, these Ps are so powerful. They
Yeah.
really are. I've heard them in different viewpoints
Sure.
before, and a similar run through it. One of my mentors used it years ago and capitalized on the Ps. But they really are important to test what you're doing every day and to say, are we on track, right? Have we made the promise? Do we have the people in place that can deliver on the promise? Do we have the product that can deliver on the promise? Those little checkpoints keep you in line because, there's so many shiny objects out there and squirrels to chase that if something new comes out, ooh, I need to have that. Well, do I?
Hmm.
Because
Is
does
it
it
in alignment?
exactly. Does it align with everything I'm doing for that ultimate goal of profitability?
I mean, every meeting we have, we go through the six P's. That's what we go through. Like every team meeting we have. It's like we start off with a promise. This is what we're doing, right? Yes, this is what we're doing. Let's talk about product. What are we going to bring in? What are we going to get rid of? Let's talk about the 10% we're getting rid of. Let's talk about the 80% that we can make more profitable. Let's talk about the 10% that we're bringing in as newness. Let's talk
Exactly.
about process. Do we need to clean up our hiring process? Do we need to clean up our sales and marketing process or, all that stuff? Let's talk about people. What do we need to know about key customers? What do we need to know about key staff? What do we need to know about key suppliers? Let's talk about promotion. How are we promoting? What are we doing? How's that going? Are we looking back and understanding blah blah blah? Let's talk about profit. Are we making money? Is this worthwhile? Now our
I
meeting's
just
complete
designed a
because
business model.
we've hit the P's. And if you can hit the P's, and we hit them in a variety of different ways because
Sure.
we suggest having a weekly meeting, having a monthly meeting, a quarterly meeting, and a yearly meeting with the management team. And there's different layouts of that, but I can tell you the meeting rhythm that we have revolves around the six P's every single time because that's what we need to talk about.
Okay. This is great. So, what about the business owner that's a little overwhelmed and going, "Wow, where do I start?"
Yeah, the
How do
low-hanging
we
fruit.
incorporate this into our business without pulling our hair out? Well,
Yeah.
what's left?
It's always the case, and most business owners are used to making all the decisions, and most business owners are, it's all up here. And for those of you that are listening, I'm pointing to my head. It's if it's all up here, and if you're the one that's opening the door every day, and if you're the one that's in charge of all the major sales that are being done in your business, and if you're the one that's doing everything, this is you start unloading some stuff that's low hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll use an example that I use on a lot of these podcasts, bookkeeping. I have two
Never to
business
your own.
I have two business degrees. I can bookkeep. Like I understand numbers. I work with people with numbers all the time and it's one of my strengths. But do I want to actually balance the visa? No, I don't. In fact, I find that incredibly frustrating to do even though I can do it. I find it frustrating. I haven't done it in probably more than 25 years in my businesses. And but what are the other things that you can unload to somebody else? Because my bookkeeper at work woohoos when she balances the visa statement,
That's
right?
her strength,
It's her
right?
strength. It's
Yes.
what she loves to do. It's her unique ability that really gets her through the day. Where mine, I would be like, oh my God, she's off. I got to do this. Are you kidding me? I'm going to spend this is 2 hours of my life I'm never going to get back.
Yikes. No, it makes complete sense that we should start to delegate and get that going. But I think where I'm asking, or where I think I might want to hear or visualize, is that if it is our company, right? And we want to get the culture and the
Yeah.
company, the team members and the partnerships and the associates, the resources to align all in on us. Shouldn't we put this down somewhere? I mean, shouldn't it be on a piece of paper or a sign,
Should
or
be.
like some sort of like an agreement that everybody gets into, and
Yeah.
has even a Trello or doc that we constantly keep fresh and working on? I think that
So
visualness
yeah.
ties this all
So
together
our
too.
visual of that is an accountability chart, or some people listening may call it an organizational chart. I prefer the word accountability chart because I really don't care what your title is. I just want to know what you're in charge of.
Love it.
So
Love
we have an accountability chart that when anybody's position gets shifted, anybody leaves the business or enters the business, it gets updated the very same day and posted where for everybody to see.
it.
And
Okay.
so many small businesses don't even have that.
Well, that's
And
because
so,
that's because usually a couple of gals are wearing, 20, 30 hats.
well, you still need to have that. And so
Yes.
I've got another exercise that I can send out for anybody who wants to do. It's called Love It or Leave It. And you can find it at simplifyingentrepreneurship.com/love it.
Oh,
And
I
here's
like it.
the exercise. You start writing down, and it starts with the business owner. You start writing down everything you are personally in charge of. Okay. And you'll get it in probably about half an hour, 80% of it. Leave the
Yep.
sheet on your desk for, or sheets, because it's usually more than one sheet, but leave them there for another week or two, because there's going to be the stuff that you forgot about that it's like, oh yeah, I got to do that too. And oh yeah, I have to do that as well. And then once you have that, you want to classify each of those accountabilities into four quadrants. And the four quadrants are these: I love it and I'm good at it. I love it and I'm not good at it. I don't love it and I'm good at it. I don't love it and I'm not good at it.
Oh,
And
I like it.
when we start putting each of those items that we're accountable for into one of these boxes, here's what I often find is that a lot of small business owners are working in this area. I
Mm,
don't love it and I'm good at it. Just like
yeah.
bookkeeping for me, because I felt I needed to do it because it was part of it's part of what I should be doing, all this kind of stuff. But I really don't love it. It's not giving me any energy. It's making me feel bad at the end of the day. It doesn't align with my Kolbe getting back to starting off. It's like, this is totally not me, but I'm
Right.
still doing it. Why would you do that when you find somebody like my bookkeeper who loves to do that kind of stuff? Because the power of the love it or leave it exercise is not only when you do it and you free yourself up of those kind of things, it's when you share it with your team.
Mm.
And when you share it
Yeah.
with your team and we start getting alignment on the accountability charts and people are working more in their love it zones within the business, because you can set that sort of stuff up through knowledge and understanding of how people operate with their Colbys, with what they like to do. And on the love it or leave it side of things, we can start manipulating around the accountabilities in the business so that everybody's humming at a better level. It becomes more profitable and more enjoyable, not only for the business owner, but for everybody working within it.
Ah, wouldn't that be a beautiful vision or dream of an ideal company, to have everybody working in their zone of genius with what they love to do? And you, as the business owner, get to step back a little bit from trying to do everything.
It takes
Ah,
time, Marcia. It doesn't happen overnight.
of course
But
not.
I can tell you, kind of we reeling it back to earlier in the podcast, you said, where do we start? We have to start somewhere. And
Yes.
if we don't start today, and this is a call out to you, the listener, if we
Yeah.
don't start today, when are you going to start? Because it does take time. And if you want these things to happen, then you've got to take some action in order to make it happen. It's up to
Love
you.
And it's just a step, right? You
Yep.
don't start running a marathon
Mhm.
by
Little
taking off
bits.
out of the gate, right? You start to walk a little bit faster.
Yeah.
You start to jog a little bit, right? And it's the one step, one foot in front of the other. So I love that analogy and it makes it a lot easier to follow.
Everything starts with the promise.
Exactly. Well, hey, audience, if you're enjoying this, hit follow and leave a review. It really helps. And while we're at it, Pete, where can listeners find out more about you? You gave us that great little worksheet to work on, but I know you've got so much more.
Yeah. I have many different sites, and the best one that amalgamates them all is just my name. So it's Pete-mohr.com. So Pete-mohr.com. And you'll find the exit planning stuff there, simplifying entrepreneurship, Kolbe Coach, all of it, my podcast, all of it's right there.
Love it, love it. Okay, and you have don't you have another worksheet where you're going to give some laws?
I do, yeah. So I've got another one, and it's at simplifyingentrpreneurship.com again /laws, and it's the 10 laws of moving from operator to owner. The idea is we want to move to that owner's box on the accountability chart and actually start releasing some accountabilities to some other people so that we can be free a little bit and we can enjoy our lives and not just enjoy our business, or maybe not enjoy our business depending on where we're at. But the idea is that you should be able to make the choice. And this is going to get your head around some ideas that you might be able to work on with those 10 laws.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And listeners, thank you for tuning in today. I hope you picked up some valuable insight and some actionable ideas that will help your business become more profitable. And I know that really looking at those P's and starting to take those steps forward, maybe building that list out, as he said, that's going to help you align your business a little bit better and make it easier and more enjoyable to work in. So I would encourage you to take Pete up on his offer. And as I mentioned before, it might be time for a fresh perspective. That's why we're offering a free growth and marketing audit. And in just one powerful session, we'll uncover opportunities to drive real growth in your business. So if you're ready for that impact, go visit profitbooster.biz. And don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always find Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. We're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much, Pete. This was really good.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.